Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing well. Today we are going to discuss one interesting React interview question. So without any further delay, let's get started. So what's the problem statement for today? So today's problem statement is use effect once, which means we have to write a custom hook which should take a parameter which is a callback function, and it should execute that callback once only in that component lifecycle. So our callback should not execute more than once, right? So that is all about the problem statement. So we will first understand why this problem is important and why most of the candidate give wrong answer to this particular problem, and then we will discuss the right answer or the right solution to this particular problem. So as part of code setup, here I have this component file which is a React component, and here I have set up a counter which is starting from 0 or initializing from 0, right? And here I have the UI for that, and here when I am incrementing, as you see, our useEffect is also rendering the console log statement, right? So this is all about this code which we can see here on the browser as well. Now what most candidates do is, what they say is just remove the count from here, right? There is no need to write the useEffectOnce hook, right? So just remove that, and now our useEffect will not render again in its life cycle, on the components life cycle. I am able to increase the count, but this log is not working. So they give one solution this way, or some of the candidates say, for an example, they say that create a hook which is use effect once and receive the callback here, which is effect callback, and return, actually no need to return, react dot use effect. React also is something which we can import, and just use the effect here with this. Yes, so our custom hook is ready, which is called useEffectOnce. We are getting a effect as a parameter, and here we are calling the useEffect hook and passing that callback method here, and here we are defining the dependency as an empty array. So essentially what they are doing is they are doing the calling the useEffect only. They have just created a wrapper on top of that, and now they propose the solution as useEffectOnce, right? And here I will pass this as a parameter, and this I will import from the file useEffect hook, and here I can useEffectOnce. I can change the message so that we can differentiate in the console log, and I will refresh it once. So on page load, this useEffect count is initialized, printed, and this useEffectOnce count is message is also printed, and if I increment, none of them is getting executed, right? But both these solutions are wrong. Why? Because ideally this useEffectOnce is nothing. We just created a wrapper on top of useEffect only, and here we are passing the empty as a dependency array, which means it will not work, or it will not let the effect execute in its life cycle, in components life cycle. Okay, why this solution is wrong? Because here we are using a state variable count, right? And we have not defined count here in the dependency array, and that's not a best practice, because good developers always write the state variables which they are using in the effect callback as a dependency in the useEffect hook, because they have, first of all, they are using TypeScript, right? Second, they have ESLint rules configured in the project. In any good company or any good team which you will be interviewing for, or you are going to join, right? There that is 100% sure that there will be ESLint rules configured so that the team can maintain good coding standards, and there is a good code maintenance for going forward in the project lifecycle. So what happens with the ESLint rules? So let me enable the ESLint rule here, which says exhaustive dependency checks. I did turned it off, but now I am removing that exhaustive dependency check. Now let's see what happens. Now our useEffect hook started throwing an error, right? It says useEffect has a missing dependency count because we are using count inside the callback. So it says please add it as a dependency, and as soon as I will add it as a dependency, our whole logic will fail. Now if I increment, the useEffect started incrementing. Our useEffect is now working. useEffect is now executing again and again as I increment. Now some candidate will say, okay, we can turn it off only for this line or for this whole file, right? Now it again started now it again stopped showing the message of count, incremented count. But that's not the solution which a interviewer will be expecting from a candidate whom he is interviewing to join his team, right? Because this is not a ethical solution. Ideally we should avoid all such situation which can lead to certain situation, and because it makes our code buggy, and in real projects, in real life applications, this can lead to unnecessarily re-renders, or basically debugging can be hard to find the possible bugs in the code base. So these all sort of solutions are not going to work or are not going to help in the interview and will not leave a good impression on the interviewer. So what should be the solution here? So the solution should be that we will keep that rule enabled, and we should have this as defined in the dependency, right? So that way our count will increment. When we increment, we will see the message in the console log. Now what we should do here? So here it also saying there is a missing dependency. So missing dependency here is effect only. So as soon as I add here, it will also start increment. For an example, start increment in terms of console log messages. So now both the effects are working. Effects are working means both the effects are getting executed, right? Now how should we stop this effect from being executed when we increment the count? For that, what we can do is we can make use of a ref, rec.useRef, right? And first I can initialize it false, right? And here what I can do is first I can check if ref.current is true. Basically this if condition is getting true, so we will return from here only, else we will go inside and the very first statement which we will write is set it to true. That means we are here, we are inside the callback, we are inside for the first time, right? That means as soon as we enter here for the very first time, we turn it true, and rest all execution of this callback will return from here only, right? Now what we will do is we will call our effect now here only, right? So that this ref.current will ensure that our execution is not reaching to this stage post first time. Our context or our JavaScript code will execute it once only at this line, and we know when effect runs, it returns a cleanup function, right? It returns a cleanup function. So we have to support that as well in our custom hook. So what we will do is return a function, right? And if the effect we passed, right, the effect which we passed as a parameter, if that returns a cleanup function, we should call it that as well. So cleanup, and if cleanup does exist, call that, right? So this is how our implementation look like. And let's revise one more time. So we are taking help of a useRef here, which is a boolean state, and by default it is false. And for the very first time when our useEffect runs, right, so useEffect reaches here, and if for the very first time it will be false, so our control will go inside and we will turn it true, and then our effect should run. So we call our effect callback, and it optionally may return a cleanup function, and if cleanup exists we will call that as well, right? And here let's print console.log skipping effect, right, and return from here. So it says rendered more hooks during the previous render. I refresh it. Yeah, now useEffectOnce, useEffect, okay, let me refresh it once. useEffect, okay, yeah, makes sense. So for the very first time our useEffectOnce gets rendered and the value printed was count 0. Now let's try incrementing that, right? So only useEffect, the plain useEffect is getting printed. Our second useEffectOnce message is getting skipped now. So our callback is not getting executed now, because the callback is called for the very first time. Now every update to the count will get returned from here only, or this code will not work, right? So that is why we are saying skipping effects. And let's remove this, and now see, and if I refresh it, cool, we can only see useEffect count messages. Our useEffectOnce messages gets rendered, or our useEffect function gets executed once only, that also on the component load only. So that is how you can write this solution, or you can propose this solution to the interviewer, which will give you a 100% impression when you suggest this particular solution, right? I hope this makes sense. You are able to understand the solution, and also the solution which you can avoid answering to such particular questions. So I hope today's session was insightful. If that is the case, please consider like, share and subscribe to our channel. I am your friend Manish, and we will meet soon with the next interview problem. Until then, bye bye, take care.